Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. This edition of Strengthening Oklahoma brought to you by the Winston in Norman. The Winston's got great food, better drinks, and the best patio in Norman. Visit thewinston.com to see their menu or order online. We're that much closer to another college football Saturday as the Sooners look to make it a 3-0 start to the season and rekindle an old rivalry in Lincoln, taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers to help us, recap a little bit of the first 2 weeks, but really look ahead to this upcoming week. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, the stud, Danny Stutsman joining us here this week. What's up, man? How we doing?
Nothing much, man. Just happy to be here.
Well, we are happy to have you. What a start. You've been making your presence felt, to say the least. I do on my morning show on Sirius XM every Tuesday. I do my 3D awards, Dusty's Dominant Defenders. And you should be listening if you're not, by the way, but you did crack my top 5 this week with that 12 tackle, 4 tackle for loss, 1 sack performance. And the 4th down stop. And the play that I love the most is after you made the play and you gave it the posing.
You got to do the scream with it. Come on.
Yeah, what was that? Were you screaming? What were you doing with that? Explain that to me.
Yeah, see, I don't really know, because Reggie has his little thing, and I don't really know, but I get so pumped up. It's that's kind of the best way to do it. And so it just kind of comes out. It's pretty much just here we go. I don't know, I can't really contain myself. So it's just all that energy and excitement just comes out.
I love that, Gabe. That's the way it should be. That's exactly the way it should be.
I've got a question about the celebration. Is it just a loud, audible noise, or are you actually saying words? Or are you just shrieking into the ether?
Probably just shrieking into the ether, maybe hoping the gods hear me or something like that. But I think sometimes I'll say a word or something, but it's pretty much just all hype and excitement.
It's emotion, man. And that's what, you've obviously turned into a really good player, but you got passion, you have emotion, you play with that. And to me, that's what the best defenders, my favorite defenders, have. Let's talk about the atmosphere from Kent State. New lights come out, night game. You guys don't allow a touchdown. Just walk us through kind of what the overall atmosphere there at Memorial Stadium was like last Saturday.
Man, it was electric. I mean, kind of, we had that slow start, but defense was doing well. But, having the fans really back us up, and then coming out at halftime, I was low-key expecting it to be empty on that side again. But it was awesome coming out and seeing all the fans there. And then, when the lights first shut off, it was amazing. I was talking to D. White and David about it, and he was like, our hearts just filled up. We couldn't really express it, but it was just so exciting and it was crazy. But it was awesome to have the fans have our back and just, be there for us.
So looking back at the Kent State game, obviously you made a lot of plays. What was your favorite play you made in that game?
It was probably that, I think when I came off the edge on that, because Coach Venables is yelling at me to do something. I have no idea what he's saying to me. And I was I'm pretty sure I was out of the fit, but he was screaming at me scoot in. So I was like, screw this. I'm just going to go. And then the QB read Reggie, and then he kept it, and I was right there. And so it kind of just worked out perfectly. But it was a pretty what am I doing right now moment, because I'm getting yelled at from coach and you don't really know. There's a lot of stuff going through your head pretty much.
When in doubt, just go. That's the moral of the story. You may screw up, but screw up going 100 miles an hour. Yep. And that's one thing you always do, man. Your motor is always running hot. I want to talk, and obviously, you seem like a humble guy. You got to stay humble. I'm sure Coach Venables is the perfect person to, as good as the outside world may make it seem, he's going to remind you of every single negative that you do. Talk about that relationship with him and Coach Roof and how that's quickly, helped you turn into a better linebacker, because Coach Odom was great. And I know you love Coach Odom. I love Coach Odom. But, Brent Venables is one of the best that's ever done it with linebackers. So just talk about the relationship with Coach Roof, Coach Venables, and really how that's helped take you to another level and how those guys help keep you grounded while you're making this progression.
I mean, yeah, they're always on us, man. And it's hard, to really get a big head when every single play you're getting, critiqued and like criticized, but it comes from a place of love and they just want you to be like as close as you can to perfect. And even after the game, me and Coach Venn was already talking about what I can do better and what I need to fix. And I don't really need that praise from like him because I know he sees it. And like, we're on to the next big thing. We're already trying to fix those mistakes so we can be better next week. And because when you focus on those previous games, those previous plays, it's easy to get caught up and you're in that moment. You need to move on to the next one because that was last week's game.
So with the way you've played through the first two, right? You look at all the plays you've made and just how the fan base has reacted to you, all of these things. Where's your confidence level at right now? I know Coach V and Coach Roof are keeping you humble, but you're still a young player getting your first couple starts, but you got to feel, I assume the confidence has grown a lot, right?
Yeah, I think last year that's kind of what I struggled with, kind of just trying to figure everything out, and then just having confidence in the system. And then this year, it's definitely like I've had a lot more, to kind of, but it all comes from preparation. Coach Venables says, confidence is within the preparation, and I think that's just coming from knowing the scheme, knowing the playbook, and then the game slows down, and you're able to make those plays because you've seen it 1,000 times on film, you've repped it in practice, and so the confidence just comes from your preparation. That's one thing that we do like pretty much here. Just a lot of film study, a lot of practice, a lot of reps. So it's able to help us and able to be more confident for sure.
What about just fundamentals? It's impossible for any Sooner fan to have not observed and noticed all the videos going back to training camp. And Coach V's out there and he's showing you guys how to strike the bag, how to shed, where to be. Just from a fundamental scheme is one thing. And there's no doubt you guys are getting a better understanding of scheme. But just as far as fundamentals of playing the position, where do you feel like that is, and how much do you think that's improved from last year to this year?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember when he first got here, him and his stymie crossface was something that he loves. And, it wasn't something we were really particularly good at. And he expressed that in a few ways, but then we started repping that pretty much every single day. And, in the summer when they weren't with us, the linebackers, we got together as much as possible to rep, those drills, the footwork, the bag work that we needed. And, we came back in the fall and there was definitely a big increase, a big improvement there. So it definitely helped out. And he's noticed it, but he says we still have a long ways to go, but we're eager to work.
Now that you are kind of on autopilot doing those drills, do you feel like a robot? Do you feel like he's turning you into a robot essentially?
In some ways, yeah, but you got to stay on edge because you make one little mistake, you're getting chewed out, you're getting critiqued. So we're always on edge when we go to Indy.
So enough about you. Let's talk about this defense as a whole. Reggie Grimes off to an awesome start. Billy Bowman, the back end, off to an awesome start. You guys collectively as a defense only allowing one touchdown through 2 games. There's a lot of positive that we've seen so far. What areas, though, do you feel you guys can improve upon collectively? As y'all have watched the tape and you're heading to this Nebraska game, is there an area or two that you guys have pinpointed and said, we can really get better in this area to take our game to that next level?
Yeah, I think we can start with tackling. I think our tackling needs to be better. We're going to start facing better running backs and better receivers, and we need to be, a better swarming defense. There's been spurts here and there, like we show that we can do it, but I think we need to just be more consistent. And then when it comes to takeaways, we have the goal of 1 every 25 snaps. I think we need to be better in that category too, because it took to the second half to get our first one, and then we had the second one late in the fourth. I think we need to be the spark plug of the game and start off early. Get those early takeaways to really put the game out early.
So, those are everything can get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything can always get better, whether you're an offensive unit, a defensive unit, but you guys have done some good things. So what do you feel as a defense as a whole? What do you feel you've done best up to this point, knowing that it's never going to be good enough for Coach V? It can always be better, but what do you feel you guys have done well up to this point as a defense?
I think as a unit together, we kind of know where each other are going to be, which really helps out our gap integrity and our overall fits, because, when the safety's coming in your help and you can spill the pulling guard to them, or, it's you and the mic working together so you can lever it back to them, it really helps out. And just knowing where everyone's going to be, the stunts in front of you. And that's something that just comes from, all in commitment and total study and total buy-in. And that's something that, that we have and that we're working on. We're trying to improve on every single day.
I like the negative plays. I'll tell you my favorite part, Gabe. 23 tackles for loss in 2 games. I like changing the line of scrimmage, playing the other side of the football. Coach Venables demands it. He has since I played for him 20 years ago, and from 2012 till last season, Clemson #1 in college football and tackles for loss with him as the coordinator, and you guys are off to a hot start. Gabe and I had the opportunity, and we were fortunate enough to be named team captains back when we played. You just got named team captain for one of the best rivalries in the history of college football. How good does that feel? What's it mean to you to get the chance to be a team captain here this week against Nebraska?
Oh, it's definitely an honorable privilege. When me and Billy were both announced, it was, first time I've seen 2 young guys be captains, and it was like, this is real. Like, our hard work's paying off, but, you got to stay humble. You got to keep working, because now you got that C to your name. So it just makes a bigger deal. You got to be more prepared than you were last week, study more, practice harder than you ever have, because, now there's that expectation to it. And it's something like an honor to uphold. You're a captain going in this big game. So you got to keep everyone, on task, focused, but it's something that we're ready for. We're excited. We're pumped.
So when Dusty and I were captains, right? You were named captain, you were voted captain, and then you were the captain for the whole season. So with the way you guys are doing it, I'm curious, when you get named a game captain like you have been for Nebraska, like, does that come with tasks? Do you get responsibilities that week? Like, what all goes into it?
I think, it's kind of just like a unspoken, like, you got to be more focused, you got to hold like the defense for that week. And I think as we go along, I think we're going to vote, like, once we get to like the bowl games, we'll probably vote on some permanent ones for like the playoffs and the championship November. But right now it's just kind of like for that week, like, you're the captain of the team, like, you like lead us from warm-ups, you do that responsibility.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's look at this game you guys got in Lincoln, Nebraska. As you watch their offense, you know the quarterback. You played against him last year against Texas. What stands out to you? This offense, too. You played against them in Norman a season ago. But what stands out most notably as you've watched the tape this week getting ready for this game?
I mean, they're very athletic, dude. They have dudes all across the board. Their running back's very good. They have a young running back as well. And, Casey's always keeping his eyes downfield. So we're going to have to be on point. We're going to plaster the receivers, because if he gets out of the pocket, he's going to be looking to make a play downfield. So we just got to be ready in that aspect. We got a good gap fit, because, they're going to try and increase us and bust out some long runs. But, we're going to be ready. We're ready for those receivers on those routes. We're trying to learn those new concepts in practice, but we're prepared. We're studied every single day as much as we can with class and everything. But we're trying to get ready as much as we can.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I want to give you the opportunity to show some love to your defensive linemen. Look at me, Dusty. Look at me.
Love it.
But
as well, you should.
And I know you can't say it, but I can. I don't think Nebraska's offensive line is very good. So I'm expecting the defensive line to play at a high level again. But how much easier have they made your life with the way that they're playing, Danny?
Oh, it's been awesome. When they can take up that double team and they make those gaps so big. Like in that first TFL I had on that third down, Isaiah Coe, he took up a double team and was already in the backfield. So, I mean, that play was pretty much his. I had the easy part of just shooting the big gap. And, those plays happen. It comes from those guys up front. And it's kind of just, it doesn't matter who we're playing. I know they're going to dominate, because they dominate in practice. With Coach Bates and Coach Chavis, there's always on them. They're always trying to get them better. So I know that they're going to do their thing. They're always going to be eating.
I'll tell you what, we big guys, we like to eat, and we also like praise from our linebackers behind us. So good on you to shell out some of that. Now, as far as, just kind of Casey Thompson, you mentioned you guys are going to have to, he's got some mobility. He's also got the ability to throw it down the field. We saw that 5 touchdown passes in the first half as he was the Texas quarterback, different system. But give me a key or two into stopping him. What are you guys going to have to do extremely well, both in coverage and as far as some quarterback run game stuff to make sure that he isn't a guy that is a problem for you guys defensively?
Well, I think, on the coverage side, we need to disguise our coverages better. You don't want to give him that initial read because then he knows where he's going to be. And then kind of just keeping contain on him. Don't let him get out of the pocket. Don't let him extend plays. And if we can keep him bottled up, I think we'll be able to do our thing, get the job done.
So with Anthony Grant, their running back, number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing I've noticed is, they may be running a concept. He's not necessarily taking the ball where it's supposed to go. Right. I mean, this is a guy that runs with a lot of instinct and feel. How do you account for that as a linebacker and as a defense? Because like you're seeing the blocking scheme, you're reading all your keys, and then all of a sudden this guy takes a complete right turn and you're just like, wait, where are you going?
Well, I think, as a defense, it's all about like doing your job, because the second you read the scheme and you go out of your gap, that's when the crease opens up. That's something that in this defense, you have to stay in your gap no matter what, and just trust the scheme, trust that we have all the, I was saying earlier, where everyone else is going to be. He said, I might have play side A. You got to stick to that gap because, the other linebackers filling in that boundary B gap. And so it kind of just, you have that trust for your team, know that this might not be my play to make. This is theirs. And so that's how you stop a running back like that.
What's your mentality when you go on the road? This is going to be, I heard Coach Venables talk about it to you guys right after the game, even in the locker room. I had a chance to play there not once, but twice. It's as passionate a fan base as there is in college football. There was a time when this was as big a rivalry as there was in college football. Now you get to be introduced to that. So just in general, as you had a chance last year to go to some hostile environments, what's the mindset that you and this defense, this team, needs to take on the road when you go to Lincoln?
I mean, Coach Venables said best, road dog mentality. We're going in there, we're seeing ourselves as the underdogs. We're going to be scrappy, we're going to be fighting. And one thing that really stood out to me that Coach Venables told us yesterday, he said, we're going to go in there, get the job done. We're going to have that locker room spotless. And that's something I've never heard a coach say, because, there's been those away games where you're like, screw this, and you just trash the place. And he was like, we're going to come in there, get the job done, just leave it perfectly clean. And I was like, man, that's a class act dude. And that's someone you want to play for, who, because I heard he said those fans, they're going to come in there, they're going to butter you up, give you, oh, good Gabe, good job, like good luck. And then we're going to come in there, get the job done, and clean the locker room, which is something that's crazy. I'm excited for.
So, yeah, I want to share this with them real quick. So we played there. I played there in 2005, and it was a knockdown drag out. We got an early lead. They came back. Cincinnati Bengals head coach Zach Taylor, who's an Oklahoma native, was a quarterback at the time. And it came down to the end. I think it was a one-score game in the end, and we won. And I kind of had a Danny Stutsman performance that day. Had my only pick. I think I had like 5 TFLs and a sack. It was a big day for me.
It seems a little better.
We got the win. Most important.
That's a dusty performance right there, if I know one.
So, well, yeah. So we're leaving the game. We're going back into the locker room, and I swear to God, they were giving us a standing ovation. It wasn't Oklahoma fans; it was Nebraska fans.
Yeah.
And I mean, it stuck with me. What is that? 18 years ago. I mean, it stuck with me to this day. So I love the fact that, because it's not a hated rivalry; it's a respected rivalry. So just be prepared. They may give you a standing ovation. They may actually be cheering for you. So the fact that Coach Venables is like, we're going to go there, handle our business, and leave it spotless on the way out, I think that is very fitting, because you're going to be surprised, I think, when you go in there, and just how much respect that fan base has for Oklahoma football.
Yeah, our one actually in Soul Mission, Ryan Young, he played at K-State, and he said, they got, when he played, they got killed by Nebraska, and he said, after the game, he said the worst thing that he's ever felt was them just staying up and clapping for him. Like, oh, good game. Good job, guys. You guys came here. You guys tried. And it's kind of like, it's like passive aggressive, like just like, I don't know. I'd rather be booed at than clapped for. So it's definitely going to be something.
Well, this is also true. Nebraska back then, little different than Nebraska now. Now you can't fall into the trap of that. But so this is, I know you are completely focused on preparing for the game, watching film, getting your lifts in, like keeping your body right, practicing well, all that stuff. But the suits have become quite the topic of conversation. And I'm just wondering, do you already have the outfit planned for the road trip? Like, you know what you're wearing, or is that to be determined? Because it's suits for business trips now under Coach V.
Yeah, I actually do have it figured out. I'm gonna be wearing the same exact suit I've worn the past 2 weeks because I only got one suit. And so I'll maybe change it up with maybe the shoes or something, but there's not much versatility in my wardrobe right now. But next year we'll probably get another set, so I'll be able to mix and match. But right now it's gonna be the black suit with the white shirt, maybe a different tie. What I'm going with.
I love it. It sounds like a business attire if I've ever heard it. All right, let's get to some fan questions. And our fan questions are always brought to you by Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Andy Scott says, can you do a celebration for Ethan Downs when he gets a tackle for loss or sack? I don't think it's in his nature. Can you help our guy, your boy, out, man? We tried to convince him on his sacks or his big play celebration, but it hasn't stuck. So since he's not going to do it and can't do it, can you help him out, and can you be that guy?
Actually, now you say that, I will do something. I'm gonna think of something just for Ethan, that when he makes a play, I'm gonna be over there just celebrating for him. So that's a good point right there. I like that.
Yeah, he just doesn't know what to do with his hands. He just like stands up and he's like, all right. I mean, you got to help him out, man.
He's programmed a little different. When you say just robot mentality, he has one job when he steps in that field, and I love it about him.
Yeah. No,
he's the Terminator.
Yeah. And he's playing some good football. He's coming along. Okay. This next one comes from Drew Gastineau. He asks, who are some linebackers you watched / idolized growing up?
I think growing up there was a lot, but I grew up watching the Dallas Cowboys. Watching Sean Lee, and then when they got Leighton Vander Esch, watching him too. But Luke Kuechly, the way he studied the game and the way he was just so far ahead that he knew every single play. And then kind of when I got here, I started watching Teddy Lehman, Rocky Calmus, just all those guys, and just kind of studying their film. Wanting to be like those guys. Just knowing that I have some big shoes to fill, and just that's even after a performance, just keeping your head on, because they've had those days, and they've had even better ones. So there's always something to look forward to.
The Florida native, a Cowboys fan. It's America's team, ladies and gentlemen. Never mind the way we started. I grew up in Dallas. I'm a Cowboys fan. You're speaking to my heart, talking about Sean Lee, Leighton Vander Esch. I absolutely love it. And I played in front of Rocky and Teddy, two outstanding guys, to try to pattern some of your behaviors behind. This is probably my favorite question we've had from any fan. We love the questions from Josh Smith, so keep them coming. How many times do you sniff the smelling salts pregame?
That's
or throughout the game as well?
That's actually funny because Coach Schmidt, he has like little wipes. And see, I don't do that because in fall camp, I had this big bottle, because you're tired, and I have my own. And I bought like 6 of them off Amazon, and I keep them in my locker. And then, we'll be at meetings and feel like, Danny, like, let me get a hit of it, because they're falling asleep. And I'm kind of like, I'll pass it around, and it's some pretty potent stuff. You got to be careful. It'll knock you out. It'll put you. But we'll be like, I'll kick off. I'll like Coach Mitchell will hold my little. I think it's called like Atomic Rhino. This bottle I have, and you don't even want to look at it because it's just like some red stuff. It looks gnarly, but that's kind of what I'd be doing just whenever I need that little kick.
Did you just say it's called Atomic Rhino?
Something like that, man. Who even knows what they name those stuff? Who knows what's in those bottles? But it definitely works.
Hey, it probably does. All right, man. Just last thing from me. How excited are you for the opportunity? I mean, it's going to be an awesome environment there in Lincoln. You guys are playing some good football, especially defensively. Just what's the buildup been like throughout the week? Like, do you feel like a different energy in the locker room right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, we're just ready. Like it's not like we're pumped up, jacked right now, and I can tell it's like the calm before the storm. Like everyone's just handling their own business, just getting focused, and it's like we're locked in already. And it's just like it's a total buy. It's like an unspoken that we know what we're gonna do. We're just gonna play our brand of football. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this team and everything we think we accomplished, everything we're going to accomplish.
Just bring that atomic rhino. I can't wait. Lincoln, Nebraska coming up here very soon. Saturday. It's going to be a great matchup as the Sooners look to go to 3-0. Always a pleasure, Danny. Best of luck, man. Can't wait to talk to you next month.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, there you go. Thanks to Danny for joining us. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. Breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. Man, I really like watching that guy play football. He plays with passion. He plays on edge, 100 miles an hour to the football at all times. It's not always perfect. But man, when in doubt, go and go as hard as you possibly can. And to me, that's the one thing you can rest assured you're always going to get from Danny Stutsman. He really is off to an outstanding start to the season.
Yeah. I mean, he's making plays, right? Which is exactly what Brent Venables wants from his linebackers. And I'm not just saying this because I do this thing with you, man. I do think the defensive line has played a significant role in his production these first couple of games, because a lot of these TFLs, man, he's clean, and that's a result of defensive linemen doing their job. But the guy's clearly a gifted player, right? I mean, the speed, the size, the length. Now that Brent Venables and Ted Roof are there, really, really helping drag all the potential out of him.
Yep.
I think he's just scratching the surface, man. I think we're seeing the production now, but down the line, this guy's going to be an All-American type player, early round draft pick type player. And that's exciting to think about.
He mentioned Leighton Vander Esch. I don't like comparing college kids to pros, but body type wise, the way that they play, you can see a lot of similarities. The linebacker out of Boise State, at least that's what the capabilities could potentially be, as we're already seeing. The other thing, defensive line is definitely playing well. I think that's clear. Now I feel like we always have to preface is UTEP and it was Kent State. All you can do is play your opponent. That needs to continue, because that was a question mark this season. Who's going to step up at edge, and Reggie Grimes has been sensational. The D tackles, I think the rotation that they've had has been really good. So that has clearly helped aid Danny and some of this production. I also think scheme, like Danny lines up all over the place. On the fourth down stop, he's over on the edge, right? A lot of times he's right there at that second level backer. They move him around a lot. And with some of the different blitzes and different, schematics they throw at opposing offenses, it's tough to always identify where he's going to be. He's not just going to be standing in the same spot, down in, down out. They utilize him in a lot of different ways. And it's not just him, it's a lot of these different players on this defense. You and I talked the other day about Deshaun White. I mean, he's playing half-field safety in part of that game against Kent State. But I also think that aspect of just moving guys around, continuing to be aggressive, and making it difficult on opposing offenses to kind of identify exactly where these various players, especially Danny, is going to be on a given snap. It's also, I think, allowing and help enable him to have the success we're seeing.
Yeah. And just, from an offensive lineman's perspective, a center's perspective, like you go into a game saying, hey, 28's the Will, 2's the Mike, yep. Right? 23, Deshaun White, he's their nickel Sam. And when the guys aren't in the spots that you're anticipating them to be in, you got to do some extra thinking, and some confusion can be created as a result of that. But yeah, Venables is a master of moving guys around. I mean, he really is, and trying to create confusion, but it also, I mean, it's very demanding on the guys playing defense for him. So you got to put extra time when it comes to studying film and really understanding what you're doing conceptually as a defense when he's moving you in those different areas. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this group play against Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska's defense has been really, really bad.
Yep.
Nebraska's offense been pretty decent. Now, that I don't think they've played any good football teams. I don't think Northwestern's a very good football team. I don't think Georgia Southern is that great of a football team. But Casey Thompson, if he's got protection, we know about the mobility, his ability to use his legs. He can sling it if he's comfortable. The key in my mind is to clearly shut down the run, shut down Grant, number 10, who I think has had a really nice start to the season.
Yeah, he has.
But I do think they've got a weakness at offensive tackle. I think Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs can get after 65 and 54. One guy's 6'10", the other 6'9". So you got a leverage advantage. I expect Ethan Downs to pick that right tackle up and forklift him. So
I'm with that.
We'll see, but I think it could be another really good day for the defense if they're disciplined in their run fits, and that allows them to get after the passer rushing Casey Thompson. Nebraska's offense is better than their defense, though, Dusty. That's clear to me.
No question. It'll be the biggest challenge Oklahoma's had. Big tight ends as well, long tight ends that, you got to account for in the throw game. Anthony Grant's had over 100 yards in every game so far this season and he's averaging over 20 yards a carry. So they're going to ride him. I mean, he's a focal point of what they want to do. So I think it definitely focused so much on Casey Thompson. Oklahoma has been good against the run so far. They need to continue to be good against the run in this game. And we've been talking about that defensive line, those defensive tackles. That needs to continue to be the case here in this ball game because, to me, and Mark Whipple comes in as the offensive coordinator, and though he's been calling plays, I still feel like Scott Frost has had an influence on this offense. I think we could see an even more so of a Mark Whipple offense, which is more pass heavy, but they know that what they have in Anthony Grant, and they're going to continue to try to run the football. So to me, as far as keys to this game go, you got to contain Casey Thompson, but you better be able to slow down and limit Anthony Grant on the ground, averaging over 6 yards a carry, as I mentioned, over 100 yards in each of these first 3 games.
Yeah, and I believe I saw he hasn't had a negative yard rush all season.
Falling forward always.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive. But I'm sure Venables and the defensive staff are looking very closely at that Clemson Pitt matchup from last year because Mark Whipple was the OC at Pitt last year. Clearly, Venables running the defense for Clemson. I'm sure they're going through that with the fine tooth comb. But yeah, if you can shut down the running game, and I do not think Nebraska's offensive line is very good. I like the center 75. I think he's the best guy they've got, but their right guard 73 is, he's bad. I don't know how else to say it. He's bad. The tackles are too tall. They don't get any movement in the running game. If you can make Nebraska one-dimensional, right? If you can force Casey Thompson to kind of beat you throwing the football, he's very capable, but I just think you can get after him with a pass rush in that situation. So I'm with you. The key to everything is shutting down the running game with Anthony Grant. So I think that's the key to the football game for OU defensively.
And Coach Venables said some great things earlier in the week at his press conference about Casey Thompson, that OU went after him and they're rooting him on. Local product, except for obviously this week. And we've seen some good from Casey, especially when he's healthy. He will throw the football the other team. And we saw that against Northwestern. He had 2 picks in that game. He's got 3 for the season, especially if Oklahoma can get a lead, and they can force him to press a little bit. I think that there's going to be some opportunities for the secondary to be able to create and get some takeaways. So, and again, I think we've talked about this throughout the course of the week. Mickey Joseph is an interim coach right now. And you always see, especially early on when a coach is fired, there's an interim coach step in, that interim coach gets the most out of those players. They're going to come out and they're going to play inspired. They're going to have a a carefree mentality. And it does kind of feel like since the first half against Northwestern, they've been pressing as a team and almost trying too hard. I think there's going to be a carefree mentality from Nebraska. You're probably going to see them leave it, pull out all the stops, leave it all in the field, because this could be a game that turns around their season, the season for those players that want to get this thing righted. So we've talked about it throughout the week, but I'm convinced this is a dangerous game. Oklahoma's the better team, but over the summer, Oklahoma was a 3.5-point favorite. They're now up to an 11.5, 12-point favorite. Nebraska still has good players. They haven't figured out how to win. They don't know how to win, but you cannot fall victim and fall into that trap of thinking this is some inferior opponent. Now, good leadership from players and coaches will prevent that from happening. But I still look at this game as a dangerous spot for Oklahoma to be stepping into in a rivalry matchup and what's going to be an outstanding hostile environment to walk into. Oklahoma, and it sounds like they've had a really good week of preparation. They're going to need that to go into Lincoln and be able to get a victory here on Saturday.
Yeah. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to be there. Never been.
Oh, man.
Never been. Last time we went, I was a redshirt freshman, or it was my first season at Oklahoma in 2009. That game did not go well for us, but because I was redshirt and I didn't travel, I think I actually watched that game from Stillwater, which is another story. But I'm excited. It's going to be my first time in Lincoln. I'm excited about the atmosphere. I'm excited to see Oklahoma and Nebraska square off in that stadium. So I'm pumped, man. Should be a fun one.
National TV, a chance to make a statement. They need to get off to a fast start. I don't want to see them come out of the block slow and get that crowd into it and give that team, any sign of we're going to win this game today. I can't wait to watch it as well. My game doesn't kick until 3:30 East Coast, so I will be watching the majority of that first half, probably from the booth in Atlanta. Tell the Huskers I said hello and do whatever you can to bring the Sooners back with a victory. Big thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. And as we always say, because we mean it from our hearts, thank you to you guys, our subscribers. You're the fuel that makes this thing go. We appreciate you. We thank you. And we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.